Postseason is cranking on for a lot of teams. Dolphins, it is the off season. So I'm going to start covering it here. I hope all you guys are well. Hopefully I don't got no tech issues. I don't know, I'd say cursed when it comes to tech stuff. So hopefully I'm on point with the tech tonight. Let me know if I'm not. It happens. I put a lot of time into tonight as far as wrapping up my coverage during the week to get you guys prepared because, we can't control any of this, but the media, the Dolphins organization, they're going to put stuff out. And, sometimes it's true, sometimes it's not. But if the fan base isn't savvy, they're going to be poor consumers and we're going to get some more of the same. I think we're in for a very hard, long haul. I'll go over the numbers and stuff, but we'll see. I've been crunching the numbers, and I think when I came out and said this 2 years ago, we would have a high point talent season, 23 with the diminishing in 24. A lot of people said no. And even going into the end of the season, I heard a lot of the same thing. But now a lot of big guys are all kind of coming out and saying, oh, this doesn't look good. Something's going on. I even see people that I normally don't see criticizing things kind of getting on top of Grier. And it kind of feels like there could be a watershed moment. Now, we got to wait to see. But I want to, there's a lot of things I don't like to do about this. I don't like to be in front of a camera. I don't like to be the center of attention. And I don't like Twitter, and I don't like to toot my own horn, but you got to sometimes. And so I'm going to show you this graph right here. Chris Kaufman, I believe he's from 3 yards per carry. It shows, I'll just read it. Miami Dolphins did more to hide their offensive line deficiencies in the pass protection than any team of the last decade. Wasn't sustainable. This graph that you're seeing here is the true pass set grade by PFF. Now, protection can be helped in so many different ways, but when you're asked to block on your own and make things happen within a true pass set, that is the most indicative of your true performance. And you can see right here, that little blue dot is the bottom of the well from 2014 to 2023. And if you've been watching me for a little while, I said the game-changing leverage of Hill and Waddle is going to set things up for this protection. And this year I talked about speed of throw, elevating this protection and making it look far better than it really is. We've dropped our time to throw from 22 to 23 by like 0.3 seconds, which is a ton. But you can see right here the validation of the things I've been saying. And I'm going to tie this into the run game. And when you understand how bad this protection is, and again, I was saying that all season, even when it wasn't convenient. Now, a lot of people, out there that were saying this is a great offensive line, they're kind of changing the tune. And this is an absolutely damning statistic. And, guys like Jackson, good kid. People got on, I'm sorry, Jackson routine. Hey, Yuki, what's going on? What's going on, Yuki? How you doing, brother? You had the whole I'm sorry, Jackson thing. Jackson's overall grade was like 54, which is terrible. So you have terrible. So you'll say, oh, Tua is a one-read guy, McDaniel. They're forced. By this graph here shows you the worst by a long shot. You see the next black dot up there? That's like 2 or 3% better. And look how far that is. You're talking 45% is like the mean, the middle of the road. We're at like 28%. That is god awful. And so everything that you've been told by Grier, and been told by even the staff, but that's their job to kind of, you massage things and make it look good. You're dealing with your players. You can't have them lose confidence. Hey, Jadon, what's going on? What's up, Kurt? It's been a while since I can't watch a stream. Yeah, I know, man. I know. Don't worry. Don't sweat. I'm glad you're here. Thank you, brother. Thank you. I got to try. I guess in the off season, I got to figure out if this is the right time for everybody and everything. But thanks for stopping by, brother. Thanks for stopping by. How you doing, man? Yuki, how you doing? You guys doing good? Before I get into my whole spiel here, I really do appreciate you guys, man. I really, one day, man, I want us to all meet and, man, have a big football conversation party. That's why I love Lucas, man. I finally got to see him. I've been talking to him for like 2 years now. Oh, speaking of, I got Skylar Whitting is going to be on. He was supposed to be on tonight, but I screwed up. I didn't read my business email, but he's going to be on next week. Any of you guys want to come on the channel? You don't even have to show your face. You could talk. You could send a message. I don't know. You could read something you got to say. I believe this is like a community thing. So if you want to come on, contact me at curtis@aceperhead.com or even in the comments section, and you can get on and do your whole talk. And so I hope everybody's well. So anyway, so back to this. This is, I made fun of chilling. Yeah, I know, man. I was going to be doing stuff yesterday, tomorrow, more stuff. Coverage and everything, but I got to hang out with my family and kids. We're going to go to a German restaurant. I need to chill, man. I know the feeling. Doing good on lunch break, man, at work. Are you an overnighter or what's the deal, man? I used to do those overnights that killed me, man. I put like 15 years on me. All right, man. I'll try to get into some good stuff then if you're on lunch break, brother. So just, feast your eyes on this statistic. This is why, and it doesn't mean that Tua or McDaniel is the greatest thing since the greatest thing ever was sliced. Nights. Yeah, I used to do that for a long 15 years, man. I hated it. It was a killer. Can't sleep by day. Oh, man. That's rough business, brother. That is rough business, man. I'm so happy I'm out of that, man. I'm like an old man. This is like hard for me to even stay awake for this. Make sure you get your sleep in the daytime. So feast your eyes on this. You have to understand that an OC and QB, their foundation is set by the offensive line. I've been telling people that for 3 years. Some people believed that McDaniel came in and it was like these hyperinflated stats in certain situations. Offensive line makes the NFL world go round. It's undisputed. I wanted to see if we could set the leverage to break that trend, to break that historical trend. McDaniel is totally strapped by this offensive line. Tua is totally strapped by this offensive line in a way that just think about if you have to work behind the worst offensive line pass protection in, 9 years. That's insane. And again, it doesn't say that they are able to do this. So now you've got to build. You are going into next season, the last window of your high point talent season, and you have this offensive line. Now I want to show you another stat. This was our run statistics. So up the middle, we were the 12th least to run up the middle. Left guard, 4th least. Left tackle, 4th least. Left end, though, 2nd most. Right end, 1st most. Right tackle, 9th least. Right guard, 2nd least. We were the number 1 run team in the league, and it was like 80% based on, that's just a rough guess, all about edge runs. So we could not run inside, and we had this legitimate pass protection, forcing the quick throw, inhibiting the ability to run inside. And so you had an absolutely predictable offense. And this is why they were shut down. Everyone was saying, can the Dolphins beat a good team? I said, can the offense beat a good defense? with this protection, there is nobody, obviously, in this playoffs that has this kind of protection. And I did a podcast, only got a few views, like maybe 200 or something, about the postseason, all the teams. The NFL is now the cycle. I've been saying this for 3 years now, 2 to 3 years, and I don't know how many people are talking about it, but we've moved out of fun ball to pass balance. Lord Warhammer, a great name, dude, a great name. What's up, Curtis? We were throwing too many short passes in that season. We had no choice. We can't protect. We can't run inside. And so they had to do something to basically fabricate some kind of consistency. And we could not do it. You can, with this kind of protection that you're seeing here, you cannot go to progressions. You cannot have a real passing attack. This is why Tua had to throw to spots. And even Kurt Warner said, people took all the little bits and pieces that Kurt Warner said and then tagged Tua. But you got to take all of what he said. He said there's almost nobody else in the league who could sustain this. This is beyond god awful. This is the worst in 9 years. I call him the 45th offensive line in football in 2021. This is bad. Let's see. It doesn't look like things are changing on LO. We're keeping 4 or 5, right? You know, yeah, Hunt is gone, most likely. I think Eichenberg's playing center. Some people laugh and say he's not. They're going to get somebody else. So Yuki, we've got Eichenberg a second and third. We passed on Creed Humphreys. We passed on Cosme. We passed on a bunch of guys, overpaid more than those guys. And Eichenberg was on this roster as left guard, and then he failed, and they put Cotton there. They had Feeney, who they brought in, who was a total, bag of bones, but he was more competition for the center than Eichenberg was. They shipped him off because they needed an excuse to keep Eichenberg. No, he didn't, brother. He didn't. He really didn't. He really didn't. You go over the true pass set protection. You go over his run blocking. You have to understand that you could protect an offensive lineman can be protected like no other position in the game. But there's no other position in the game that has the consistency, the chemistry needed to, and is the most as important. But you can pull pieces from your offense, your tight ends and your fullbacks and your receivers, and you can call plays and protect. That's why we ran all these motions. That's why we ran all these play actions and screens, because they couldn't stand up. You look at our inside run game, it didn't go anywhere. You can look at our protection, it wasn't good. You can look at sacks and pressures, but that is not how you really evaluate it, because when you throw the ball this fast, I could block somebody, or to almost to the point where they can be successful at a certain point. Now, our blitz time to throw is like 2.25, which is insane. Most teams aren't even getting the ball off that quick. So Eichenberg was protected. There was a concerted effort from last year. Remember, Smith was arguing that Eichenberg was so good, and then last year's offensive line coach wanted Jones in instead, and then he got fired, and then we brought in Butch. And then everyone's like, oh, Eichenberg has had a pretty cool season. They have been given something from the top to make these guys float. Jackson, he was given an extension. He suffered big time over the last 4 or 5 weeks. You heard no, I am sorry, Jackson. No, I am sorry, Eichenberg. And it's not, if you study the film and you just watch the player and then you watch what they're doing to protect that, you can't, unless you study, really understand. He is poor. Like poor. He's rated 34th out of 32 centers. He's terrible. I was just happy when Ike wasn't getting penalties every down. Yeah. Look, he could maybe be a backup, spot duty backup. So where's it? Was he the weak link on the O-line? Depends. You have to remember, Warhammer, that, okay, so you go into a game and you have your offensive line, you have your offense, then the defense comes against you, and that defensive coordinator is looking at his talent, matching it up against your talent, and then he attacks different spots. And so some games he had a bad game because they attacked him. Some games they attacked Cotton. Some games they attacked Jackson. Some games they attacked Jones. Every guy has got a different thing. You know, some guys, they're not good at swapping switches. And when you see that, you're like, oh, okay, I got a good end and I got a good DT or a linebacker. I'm going to do some stunts and I'm going to do some rotation attacks. So it depends. But Eichenberg was not an asset ever. He might have a good game where you look at like PFF and it's green, but there's no context there because he wasn't the focus or they were protecting. Like a lot of times Jackson had a good game, quote unquote, until like that last part of the season when he had to stand on his own. He wasn't being protected with Hunt. He wasn't able to be protected as much through scheme and stuff, and he had to stand on his own. And so all these guys are not guys. You don't want Cotton as your starter. You don't even want Wynn as your starter because he couldn't run block and you knew he was going to get injured. You don't want Eichenberg as your starter. You don't want Jackson as your starter. You don't. They're not able to really, really be an asset. And this says it because you cannot have this. This is this season without total failure. Now, even Tehran had somewhat of a weaker season because of the injuries. Still very good. But that speed of throw elevated everything. But when, say, a team like KC can cover you long enough and get that speed of throw up a little bit and then get the pressure, then all of a sudden you look exposed. Anyway, I'm gone on too long. He was getting beaten pass pro. Yeah. Oh, he was on the ground. You know what you do? How about this? Go back and watch the game and count how many times Eichenberg and Jackson are on the ground. Every time an offensive lineman's on the ground, that's a failure. Now, sometimes guys knock them over or whatever, but they're not assets, man. They're just not. I know it sounds hard and it's not contrary to what a lot of big guys said, but look what this stat says, what I've been saying all season. And now we're here. I'm not saying I'm all knowing. Wynn and Jackson weren't bad. Yeah, they were. Because, okay, so Wynn, if you threw the ball at 2.2 seconds, he was 6'2". He had good feet and good hands. And so he could shut that down pretty quick and he would look really good. But the ball's coming out at 2.2, 0.3, 2.3 seconds at most, sometimes 2.8. No one in the league was doing that. And so he could look good at that, but you watch him in the run game, he didn't have the power. And then when the clock went to 2.5, we were one of the worst in the league at protecting past 2.5. And so you got to go through his full skill set. He had no power. And so he would get dominated by physicality when that clock started running up to a normal level. You go check normal time levels, it's 2.4, 2.45, 2.5. A lot of the best teams, 2.6 they can block for. They couldn't. Jackson the same way. Jackson's good. He can get out there and get in front of you. His technique's not so hot. But if you're throwing a 2.2, 0.3, he's not too terrible unless it's a really good guy. But watch him drive block. Occasionally he'll make a drive block. Occasionally he'll get out on the side. But if you break down, he's not. And it's hard to, I know people say it's like, you're wrong. You're crazy. You hate him. But, I just study this game so much. And if he was so good, then why was if you go back at the playoff game, he was eviscerated. You go look at the Bills game and the Ravens game, he was totally dominated because he had to block alone. They had to bring the protection inside. And when he was one-on-one and it got to a normal level, he collapsed. And so I know it's not easy to accept, but it was Armstead was okay. Yeah, he was, but he got beaten in where he never used to in bull rushes and sometimes speed rushes to the end. He was terrible. No, he was okay. He was good when you slid block, when you slide block, you movement blocks. And occasionally he got to the second level and he would do okay, but he can't drive. He never could. and with all the injuries, but he was still by far the best offensive lineman we had, except for maybe Hunt. Hunt had a really good year. I think Hunt was the best of the best. And then Connor and Hunt. Connor's pass blocking wasn't so hot sometimes, but his run blocking was phenomenal. And the two of them together were like Batman and Robin. So I'll agree on that. Teron was he's beat up, man. He's really beat up. Hey, Curtis, McDaniel did a great job of using two as quickly as, yeah. That's what these numbers say. You know, that's what I was saying. And people, got mad at me, which I understand. You don't want to hear that. Who wants to hear that? So let me show you another stat. This is Connor ranked first out of 37 or overall blocking grade, pass blocking grade 71.7 is a little bit lower, not terrible. Run blocking grade 90. Liam Eichenberg ranked 35th out of 37. Overall grade 45.2. Pass blocking grade 47. Run blocking grade 49. And we heard, well, once Eichenberg got over his bumps, he played pretty well. And this guy's evil. Aldous Huxley wrote Brave New World. He's really not a good guy. But this statement is so true. Facts do not cease to exist because they are ignored. And so this offensive line, without Hunt and Connor, if we don't add major pieces, it's going to be very, very, very scary next year because teams know how to do it now. They know. They saw last year, but we could run a little bit. We could run block a little better with Shell in there. And then you had Hunt and Connor that were there the all season. And Shell at right tackle was pretty good, man, in the run blocking. Hey, Lucas, what's going on? Yeah, I forgot to send it. You want me to send it, brother? I'll send it to you. I'll get it next time. I don't want to mess things up. I don't mess things up. Next time I should have put the link in there. Sorry. Let's see, Hunt. I wish Tua would throw longer third down passes on 3rd and 12. I agree, but I don't know if he's capable of doing it. But I know that he knows and everybody else knows they can't block long enough. And you can watch the protection breakdown. And I do think that Tua sometimes gets a little gun shy. I think he knows a lot of times you'll see him. He rolls away from Jackson. Like this quarterback knows where the weaknesses are. And I don't think he trusts this offensive line, and he shouldn't. But that doesn't excuse it. Look at Burrow. Burrow stood tall, but Burrow's got his brains beaten. I don't know how much longer this guy's got if he keeps getting beat like that. So I do agree, but it's got to start. Your foundation is the offensive line. It's the trenches on defense and offense. And that then builds out everyone else's success ratio from there. If you're not controlling the trenches, that line of scrimmage, everything else ripples out into failure. And this offensive line was the worst offensive line in 9 years by a long shot in its actual pass pro. So you can't just put 5 guys to block and then send out 5 receivers. You can't do it. You could do it occasionally, but it doesn't seem to work because it's got to be quick. Where a lot of these other teams, they'll let 5 guys block. They'll block the 4, and then you got 5 guys in routes. We cannot do that. There you go. This doesn't mean, okay, so this is true, but this doesn't mean he's going to lead you to the Super Bowl, but what it does mean is he doesn't suck. You know what I'm saying? And that's the problem. The evaluations are so poor. We got a lot of big running games. And everyone's like, this run game is awesome. It's the unicorns and his pass protection. Look at the sacks. But this is ESPN takes. This is not true football evaluation. Not saying I'm a guru, but I sure do a lot better. You can check what I've said than most of these guys because they don't know how to do it. And they're not really trying to learn. Bottom line is we can't afford Connor at 10 million. No, I'm going to go over to contract. I was getting a little bit, Yuki. Yeah. They want him. They had to, because remember, I think it was, Colin Cowherd said 1/3 of the league, the owners, they want to win. The other 2/3, they want control and they want money and they want a good image. You couldn't let Tua get hurt. Grier is very concerned about his image. He could have easily drafted Zach Tom 2 years ago, and he would have replaced either Eichenberg, like a mile, or Jackson. I said you should draft him. He was in the building. They had an interview. His metrics were the best metrics in 30 years. He's playing for Green Bay right now. He played left tackle, right tackle, and guard. He's now at right tackle and one of the best in the league. But he couldn't do it because then he would have to say he screwed up on Jackson or Eichenberg. Image is very important. And so they're not concerned. There's something going on here, and I don't know what it is. Yeah, but they don't, but the problem is football's so complicated. I learned, you guys put comments out there and I'm like, oh, wait, I got to study that. And I'm like, holy cow, I really don't know. I know there's so much stuff I don't know. And the ESPNs of the world, and this is what gets me with Dolphin fan coverage. And I really want to work with other content providers. We should be educating and trying to get to the truth and not just selling clicks, because it comes to this, how many people are selling clicks. And then when it doesn't work out, then they just grab something out of the ether and start blaming that. But you're not providing the best information for the fans, for your fellow fans, for your viewers. Football is very complicated. There's some people that come on this channel, they tell me something like, I didn't know that, man. I go do research. I'm like, wow, I learned. Every week I learn something. This game is so complicated. And I don't blame the fans as much because ESPN screwed everything up. I'll get into I'm going to read this last one. Grier, he can't. Go look at his father in New England. I did this in 2021. And so I said, do you know that the same thing is happening? He had issues. Bill Parcells left because he didn't want to deal with them. They had issues there. And then him and Carroll had issues. And he was arguing about the rookies that he drafted starting, that they could have been better if they played. And there was all kind of problems there. And he could never, ever admit he was wrong. And it's the same thing here. It is the same thing here. So let's take a look. And if I did a podcast, I'll put it out tomorrow. Some very interesting stuff as regards to Fangio, McDaniel, and Grier. And I was like, my wig was blown back. Somebody in the comments said, hey, did you hear this? And I had watched the interview, but I missed something. I heard something, but it wasn't what was said. And he brought me back to it, and I heard it. I'm like, I can't believe that. And then I heard some other stuff, and it is mind-blowing. I don't want to cover it now. I'll cover it tomorrow because I did the whole podcast and waiting to put it out. But I'm very, very concerned. So this is where we're at. Last night, we lost $8 or $9 million. We went from negative 41 to negative 49 million. And then the 2025 salary cap went from 65 to 58 million. We just lost like 7 million next year and almost 10 million this year. So we got to dig ourselves out of even more hole. And right, what you see right here, this was a, oh, this is the wrong one. I don't want this one up there. Why am I putting this up there? Where is it? Okay, here we go. So this is where we're at. We're at currently red circle 2024, 49 million in the hole. We can get 15 to 20 because the cap will grow that much. 25, we only got 46 players, but I want to show you who those 46 players are. And you're gonna wet yourself when you find this out. Okay, this is gonna be a scary one. So 2025, only 28 players on the contract and 58 million. But understand that how much you have to pay to cover that. That's nothing. That's like chump change. You're talking Tua, Waddle, Phillips if you want to sign him, Holland, and then you're still adding in if you want Wilkins and Connor and Hunt. But you'll get another 15 to 20. And then in 2026, 13 players on contract. And then you got 114, which is not a lot. Do you know that this year we're paying $10 million to Byron Jones in dead cap? So, Chris Grier is totally the problem. It's totally. I said I'd wait. In 21, I said he was the problem. And I said I got to evaluate fairly. And I held my water for 2 years. I said, hey, this is what I see, but I could see this. He's absolutely the problem. Absolutely 1000%. The fear is that Grier will look at our OL stats and he knows the truth. He knows the truth. He doesn't care. He just wants his job. He'll do anything to keep his job. Look what he did. Okay, listen, people, you don't have to like Brian Flores, but he cut Van Noy to spite him. And then he took all that money, accelerated to that year. So in 22, he could, for the new coach, he could give him opportunity to win with cap space. And then he shipped off Eric Flowers, our best offensive line, for like a 7-round pick, and took a cap hit that year so he could have more cap space in 2022. He totally screwed the coach, the staff, the players, and the fans who paid out of spite. But all we were told was Chris Grier is just a nice guy being bullied. And that he didn't have any control, and that Flores was in control of everything. Doesn't mean Flores is the greatest guy in the world, but you were lied to by the media, who maybe they didn't know any different, and you were definitely lied to by Ross and Grier. And you'll see this year, do you know that I'll talk about it tomorrow. Fangio has zero influence on the draft. He's not consulted at all. He's the guy who brought Van Ginkel back and talked him back when Grier didn't want him. But Grier has not consulted with him for any player that he's drafted. Grier is a quiet assassin. So he's definitely the problem. 1000%. He is no bueno. And like the more it opens up, the more you see what a disaster. Bills fan, hey Trey, what's going on? Bills fan here. Want the Dolphins to do well when we're not playing, you guys. You all need to trade away pieces for the draft, picks in 24, your top contracts. Yeah, but no one's going to take it. The problem is that we have a window 23 and 24, and then all the pieces are going to be too expensive. You're going to lose them, and you're going to have to rebuild. And Chris Grier had more picks than just about anybody in the NFL history, and it was for this moment. And he missed it bad because of he was arrogance. He said, there's 100 years of football. It's the 100 years tell you, his mentor, Bill Parcells, trenches win the game. You don't need an offensive line. You can see how he's built it since 2016. Same thing, just throwing nothing at it. And he just figured he'd throw all kinds of skills and he'd win. But he was thinking that the NFL was fun ball league, but he wasn't savvy enough to see it had gone to pass balance. And the offensive line, because of COVID and the lack of two-a-days and the lack of practice and the lack of preseason, the chemistry isn't there. And they need that chemistry. So when you don't have enough talent, it gets accentuated to the negative side. Offensive linemen are one of the most valuable pieces, and you don't have to have the top 5 off. You just need 15 to 10 and good depth. But he can't even get that. V21, what's going on, brother? I knew Grier was a bum when he picked Tua. That's the least. I still think you would give it. Listen, if you took Tua and you put him in with Mayfield's offense with Tampa, you took Tua and you put him with Purdy, you took Tua and you put him with Green Bay. Do you know that every single winner of the playoffs in the wild card round won in not turnovers? Turnovers played a big part in the run game. Who ran more inside, who ran more rushing attempts, and who had more yardage every single time. The NFL the cycle has evolved, and a lot of people don't get it. The past fun ball league forced defensive coordinators to have to play with one hand tied behind their back, and they evolved. The talent became more high priority on the defenses. So a guy was like, I'm not going to be a running back. I want to be a cornerback. I want to be a safety. I want to be a linebacker. I want to be an edge player. And so the talent cycles went to the defense. The strategic and tactical evolution went to the defense to have to overcome this. And you watch, the passing stats are going down, 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 down. It's still high, but nothing like they used to. Why are all these quarterbacks struggling? Part of it is because the offensive line, it is so fickle that if you don't have the right components, it tears everything down. And these defenses have turned it back into a very defense-centric league. And Tua, if you gave him an inside run, look, his release and what he did, I showed a graph earlier. This was the worst pass protecting offensive line in 9 years by a long shot. But he still achieved what he achieved. Now, this doesn't mean he's going to be a great quarterback and win the Super Bowl, but if you gave him an inside run game, the defense came to the line of scrimmage. They don't know what they're getting, and you can run play actions with that quick release. You can still do those quick pocket posts off play action, legitimate play action. But right now, all they do is sit nickel. They clog the pocket post, they clog the deep, and they clog the edge. And you'll get one pop run and a few pop passes, and then you go nowhere. That's the problem. The defenses you need to create tension. Offense, when you have an offense, you have to create tension. That means they fear the deep and they fear the short. It creates a polarity, and that pull gets them reaction. That gets them nervous. And if you can't do that, then you can't hold the initiative. And offense must have the initiative. When the defense acts instead of reacts, offense is done. And the defense acts way too much because it's so obvious. It's going to be screens, outside run, pocket post, a deep pass, occasionally to throw a post. That's it. So all week long, you just say, all right, this is what we're going to stop. We'll sit nickel. We can get after them with 4 guys. We'll get the pressure. We'll stop the run game. That's it. You know, I mean, you can't do that against a good defense. So I'm sorry if I'm getting passionate, but guys get thrown on the bus all the time. Tua might not be the guy for us. He might not, but he's getting diminished. His ability to achieve has been diminished. McDaniel might not be the guy for us, but he's getting diminished. Look at Gesicki, diminished. Look at even Jackson. He got thrown in right away. He shouldn't have been picked that high. He shouldn't have been put there, diminished. Eichenberg, they threw him at tackle. He was evaluated as a guard, but then somehow he became tackle because they got rid of, hey, look at Flores, look at Fitzpatrick. Over and over again, we diminish people because of moves at the top, and they're left holding the bag. And then they go someplace else and they have success. So I've never been like, oh, Tua is the greatest thing, but I know I could build a disagreement. I disagree on Grier. At some point, it falls on the coaches to develop players. I also think that he does consult the head coach or offensive coordinator, defense coordinator. Where'd you get it? Dave Hyde. You can go check him and Perkins on their last show. He said he asked Fangio, did you watch tape on JPP? He goes, no, I don't get any input. I get no input. Nobody's asking me. And so he has no input. That's, either Dave Hyde's lying and Perkins is lying or Fangio's lying. And so, I understand, but he cut Van Noy to spite Flores. Just think about how bad that is. Remember the whole Watson thing? Who's got the contact with the Watsons? With Watson, the Texans. His father, Grier's father, worked for the Texans. So there's no way that Ross is going to go meet with them and have a conversation with them unless it's through Grier. So this Grier nobody would have drafted Eichenberg with the 2nd and 3rd. Everybody said Jackson was overdrafted. Now, it's not all, he does good things, but how do you pay 2 first-round draft picks for Waddle? And then you pay, I don't know how many draft picks for Hill. And now you got these 2 awesome receivers, but no offensive line. So I'm not going to battle with you on it. We could disagree and agree to disagree, but Tyndall, easy, nothing. We could have had Zach Tom. This yokel said, get Zach Tom. He was interviewed by us, and we just we passed on him. Look at Cam Smith. He sat and didn't play all year, but you never consult with Fangio, according to what Dave Hyde and Perkins was saying. And was that wise? Maybe next year Cam Smith is going to be awesome. So I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you're right. I hope you're right. I do, because he's the most important man in the building. If he doesn't get it right, we ain't going anywhere. And so I hope you're right. Really appreciate you hammering building teams from inside out, aka lines. Yeah, it's I mean, this is just like 101 team building. And what Chris Grier did, I admired him for the balls it took to say, hey, no, you know what? I believe this. I'm going to try something different. I'm going to go against, but the road less traveled it made all the difference. But most of the people that go down the road less traveled, it didn't make all the difference. They were eaten by bears and pooped out. That's why it's so rare. And so it was just kind of, I admired him. I admire his ability to stick to his players. But at a certain point, it becomes foolish. Hey, my leg hurts. Drop by to say, let's go Bills. Buffalo. Hey, I'm doing a live coverage of your team, so come by and check me out. Yeah, I want you to beat KC. I can't stand KC. I can't stand him. I'm not that I can't stand him. I'm just tired of him. Don't forget the Watson thing when you do suit. Yeah, suit hustle. Yeah, I mean, look, Flores didn't want him. Everyone said he wanted him, but he didn't want him. Ross wanted him. Marino even liked him. They were very close friends. And they had contacts through Grier's father, through the Texans. Hold on a second. What you missed with Waddle? Hey, Alf, what's going on? A big guy, smart guy, big guy. You missed with Waddle is the trade came from one player, netted Chubb, Waddle, Tyreek, and by extension, Holland and 2 other picks. That was his great assessment management. You could have gotten the tackle that they drafted in the Chargers, and maybe Sewell would have been a better pick. I mean, look, I love the Waddle pick when I got it. I understood. But then when you sandwich it with the Hill, you know how many picks you have invested on receivers? I mean, this is the best receiving core in the league. But you could see that even with these best receivers, you struggle because you don't have the trenches manned. And he wasn't able to man the trenches. And Chubb, yeah, you got Chubb, but Chubb was an injury history. We got him. He's injured. He had one decent season last year. This year he was on fire, but he's going to miss half this season, then a lot of next season. You don't know when. So you got a 4-year contract out of him, and you're going to get maybe 2.5. So I don't know. You could have still got Waddle and you could have still got a guy Tyreek. I know you didn't know he was available. But if you don't man that offensive line, I don't know. You could see, I showed a graph at the beginning. PFF ranked it true pass set worse than 9 years by a long shot. You can't win like that. So, oh, wow. Hey, Brad. Oh, sorry, Alf. You're a big guy. Now, I love you, man, and respect the world out of you. But $10, I gotta stop. I gotta cut off. Whoa, Brad Boss, man. Thank you, brother. Grier and agents line pockets of certain media guys. This is how they smear campaigns happen. This is why guys like Big O, Shad, Omar, fan flames on Flores firing are now beginning to turn on McDaniels. Well, look, that's the reality. I don't know who what. Some people don't, look, we don't know, but I know it goes on. I don't know. Some people might have personal, like Omar and Flores had a personal beef. So I know that in media this happens, but I don't know who, I don't know if access is, granted, denied. I mean, this is big boy stuff. We know this stuff goes on, but I don't know who, but it's clear. I mean, everywhere you go, you have whole media departments and their job is to shape a narrative. And sometimes it's great, I mean, you got some guy who's getting screwed over and, but that would happen. I don't know I know that Flores was totally media assassinated. It's clear because Chris Grier, we just heard Van Noy say Grier cut him out of spite. Okay. Look, you could say Chris Grier, you could say Flores was a jerk and Chris Grier, got angry and whatever, but you don't even hear it. It wasn't even a story. Like the GM cut this guy to spite the guy and stuck it to the team and the staff and the fans. So it got buried, so we have to be clear on that. Yes, there is media power that does shape things. And Flores, he even came out and said, he's like, you know what? He was a really good article out that was about him. You got to check it out. I wish I'd written it down. He said, I should have made it more fun. I didn't make it fun enough. But, you know, what about all the good stuff? Like, he had dead bodies in the basement. The guy had not one good flaw. But Ross got up and lied and said, hey, you know, we're going to look for our next coach, and Tua's our guy if the next coach wants him. But he had Peyton in the background who already said Tua sucked, and he had Brady. But nobody even made a big deal out of it. It was like barely a note. So, yeah, there's obviously this stuff's going on. I don't know who, though. I don't want to say Big O or Shad or Omar. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. You know, who knows? They might believe this stuff. You know, so I don't know. I don't know. But I know it goes on. Definitely. It's big. This is big time stuff. $1 billion industry. You don't think that everybody does it. So, you know, I get it. He obviously consulted with Fangio. The team was littered with former scheme guys that played under Fangio. Some are still in the practice squad. I'm just going by what you know. You're the big guy. You could talk to Perkins and Dave, you know. But this is what he said. When it came to that, he wasn't consulted. So I don't know. I'm going by what they said. They're big guys. I don't know if Fangio's lying or they're lying, but this is what we were told. So I'm not a big guy like you. I have no access. I'm just a little guy. So I'm just saying what I was told. But, you know, so somebody's lying. That's a story right there. You can cover that story. Is Dave lying? Fangio lying? I don't know. I don't know, Alf. I mean, I wished I was like as legit as you, man. It'd be really awesome. You got a great gig. You know, that's a big story right there. Did Fangio lie? Because why did McDaniel not say of course he's going to be back? They said, is Fangio going to be back? And he's like, well, anything's open. He never even said, yeah, that's crazy. So, you know, something's going on in the background. Maybe Fangio lied. Maybe Fangio's trying to besmirch Grier and McDaniel. I don't know. I just know, you know, what I get. If Miami stays with Tua, seems like he needs a team. Yeah, look, it's a security blanket, and it's extra protection. It's extra blocking. You know, tight ends are critical. They're so hard to find, though. You know, yeah, offensive line and tight ends. Physicality. Tua is I think Tua could be good, man. You know, I'm not saying, like, obviously you look at his stats, but I'm talking about in the big games. You know, the separation between the haves and have-nots. If that if that line of scrimmage is dominated by one team, the other side has a really, really hard day, man. It's yeah, Casey. Yeah, look, Chanel after Grier took Tyndall. You know, we'll see. This is the third year. He would flash already though if he was going to be successful. I think Grier has real skill in certain areas. He has a good ability to find running backs. He has a good ability to find edge guys. He's got a good guy. He finds guys in the background sometimes at the safety position. He's got some real skills. He's got skills and the ability to manipulate, make wheel and deal. The whole thing with Tunsil was a great wheel and deal. I don't like what he did with it. And I think he overpaid after that. You figured he had so much capital. He just was kind of like a drunk sailor. But Grier has a load of talent, but he does have flaws. He misses, to me, a little too much. He misses in the offensive line big time. And I think that somewhere along the line, like, I was a huge Grier fan. I was so happy that his concept that Ross was actually out in 2019, and I thought Grier was taking over, and everything he said, we're going to build the right way. We're going to build. And I love Flores when you brought him in. And then then we found out Ross was involved when he really said when he said he was out, he was in because he was working stuff in the background. And then it went off the rails. Then he started spending too much. I saw the Rosen, the second round pick. I was like, I don't know, but all right, I guess, whatever. But then you see Dieter. He drafts guys that take like 3-4 years to develop, and you just can't do it like that. So if you want to blame Grier for something, the wide receiver group passed the top two guys garbage. Yeah, he struck out a little bit. I like what he did with Berrios. I like Craycraft. But I do agree. He missed Wilson. We paid a ton for him. Then it was the other guy. What was the other guy? Alf that was here like 3 years ago. He had the one catch in the end zone, but it was dropped and he was like gone. Fuller, and there was like another guy too. He's kind of struggled with that. In the secondaries, then X is definitely he's going to be 33. He's gone. He's gone. So I agree on that 100%. Hulk smash. That's right, baby. That's right. Hey, Hammer, man. It's good to hear from you. You've been around with me since the beginning, man. It's good to hear from you, brother. Hope all's well. You have a good holidays and everything, man. I'm sorry that you got to be involved in this one. I know you moved from Dallas to us like about 10 years ago. So sorry about that. We're going to get there. We're going to get there eventually. I don't see anyone turning on McDaniels. I see people pointing at his inconsistencies on game day at times. But nobody is turning on him. Not yet anyways. I wouldn't say turning on him, but you could see that the way Tua was saying, hey, look, things ain't getting here quick enough. There is a little bit of like McDaniel should have said, hey, look, man, this thing's on me. But he was kind of deflecting away from him, and it kind of fell on Tua. And then Tua was like, well, we weren't able to get ball out. So there is tension going on here because somebody's going to get left holding the bag. Somebody's going to get left holding the bag. And that's Grier could have won me back, dude. All he had to say is, look, I totally screwed up. You know what? This offensive line wasn't good enough. I need to do it. But he didn't. It was all that. That's not what a leader does. Say what you want about Flores. He always said it starts with me. Always. And that's what a leader does. A leader says, hey, look, I'm the guy in charge. I made this mistake, that mistake, this mistake, this mistake. I got to get better. And then you can start talking about other people. But for them to say, the goal was to win the AFC East. The goal was win the playoff game or Super Bowl. We didn't do any of that, but that's for you to judge. That was weak, dude. That was the end for me. That was like absolutely the end for me. That's not leadership. That's weakness. That's soft. That's bad. That's not football, man. The first thing you learn when you play football is accountability. Just own up. It's all you got to do. But he won't because he knows he's on the edge and he doesn't. If he loses his gig, he'll never get another one again. I don't see anyone turn. Oh, I got this one. Sorry. Hey, Alf. As for Flores, he wanted Watson to the point where he was trying to engineer a Tua trade. The choice was Grier. I don't believe that because they already planned to fire Flores before the season started. They cut Van Noy and they were looking for Peyton and Brady. They were done with Flores. He had no juice. He had zero juice to say, I want this. People saying that, but it makes no sense. How could a guy that the GM's not talking to cuts the player that he is his guy, ships off Eric Flowers, and then you got the whole thing he said at the end of the season meeting. Yeah, I expect all my coaches back. And then 3 days later, the fake Sheffer report comes out and said he's been fired, and then Gailey quits. And then they're looking for Brady. And then they're looking for a Peyton in the background mid-season. He had no juice. There is nothing tangible for that. Maybe something more than I do, but that was the reports. But Ross, who didn't want Flores, he went there, and then the lawyer of Watson was saying he was ready to sign me if he just needed the waivers, the waiver forms, and the connections to the Texans through Grier, and Dan Marino and Watson were really good friends. That they respect each other. Flores kept saying, "I don't want him. I don't want him. I want character on my team." That's what he said over and over again. And he had no juice. He was gone. There's nothing that guy could have done short of winning a Super Bowl or maybe going to a conference championship to be back on the season. So, I'm not saying you're wrong, but I can't buy into it, brother. I'm sorry. It makes no sense. It makes zero sense. He was gone. He was gone. Once the GM said, I'm cutting Van Noy to spite you, it was over. It was game over. He was gone. So I just don't get it. I don't see that as a possibility. Could be, but it doesn't. Everything that Flores said, he said the truth. You could say whatever you want, but he was straightforward. And he always, look, if he didn't want Tua, he would have put him back in the Ravens game. He was arguing with Bridgewater or whoever, I can't remember, what's his face, not Bridgewater, the yellow guy, what's his face? Get back over there arguing with them, and he kept Tua in. He could have just left him in and had Tua sit after he had the first bad series, make him look like a jackass and win a huge game. But he allowed him to stay in there, allowed him to get the honor, and stuck with him. So just too many things that don't follow a logic train for me. But again, I can be wrong. Let's see. Let's see. Alf understands the team was littered with Fangio choices. Fangio didn't come in until after the draft, right? Fangio added AVG, Apple, and Denver's DE guy and all MLB players asked for. I'm just going by what's said. No, he came in before the draft. I'm just saying what. So either Dave Hyde's lying about what Fangio said, or Fangio's, I don't know. Just go check the podcast and see what it says. But and why would Fangio then to be asked, hey, this is a really ridiculous question, but Fangio's going to be back next year, right? And they don't answer. I don't know, but maybe. Hey, Dobbs, what's going on, man? I love your channel, Kurt. It's great to see the live stream stuff. Why didn't Miami run against KC? They couldn't. They don't have the ability to run. So they would run the football and get 1 or 2 yards. I had the run count. I think HN, somebody, I got the numbers. Some of the yards before carry were like negative. HN ran the football for like 2 or 3 1-yard plays and 1 negative. We couldn't move them, which is crazy because they're not a good run defense. And they were playing nickel all day. Curse needs. Why is it bad? Oh, I got frozen again. And I got good internet connection. What, freezing up, man? I'm sorry, yeah, but I need the likes and subscribes, man. I gotta get big time someday. Sean Payton also changed. Hey, what's going on, Hog? Sean Payton also changed his tune on Tua. He's already had before he got taken behind the woodshed by Tua earlier this season. He went on Cow Turds, showing the following week after and changed. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you can get that down on Tua. It's ridiculous. I think he was saying that because he knew he was coming in and he wanted Brady to start, and so he was beginning the media assassination. These guys are all they all know how to use the media. That's the only thing that makes any sense. Ross had him ready to go, and with Brady, so he's like, this guy stinks. He's no good. He's going to say he's great, and then you bring him in. You got it. You're moving him out. Brady's starting. Let's see. Hey, guys, and Alf's from 3 yards per carry. So this, Alf knows a lot more stuff than me as far as like the ins and outs. The only guy that caused some contention was Akeem Hicks. Obviously, Fangio wanted him, but Grier wanted Raekwon Davis to get those snaps. I could buy into that. But then it comes down to Dave Hyde lie or Fangio was saying he wasn't. I don't know. I'm just going by what he said. If Fangio leaves, hey, Tom, what's going on? If Fangio leaves, would Ron Rivera, Jack Del Rio be suitable replacements? Both are good. But I think it would be hard if he leaves because then you have to switch over to something else. But yeah, I don't like Ron Rivera too much. When he went against us and he's like ran hill naked in man with nobody over the top and shade the safety to the other side of the field, I lost all respect for him. Jack Del Rio, I would say, okay. He got replaced by Zach Thomas, so maybe he can come back here. No, I don't want Rivera. Not in the least. It's just a matter of getting guys that work together. The line have to hold up and also be comfortable with knowing where Tua is going to be in a certain place. Yeah, you just need a decent offensive line, and we don't have it. This offensive line's terrible, and it's going to get worse. I mean, we're at negative 50 million now. Let me show you something quick. I forgot. I went through the numbers. We got 46 guys on the roster right now. 19 of them, you don't expect them to contribute. You got Matthew Sexton, Vandenberg, Cameron Good, who's coming off an injury, Braylon Sanders. I like Brandon Peely as possibly something developing. Boner, I like him maybe developing something. It'd be interesting to see. Ryan Hayes, too soft, too weak. Maybe he'll develop, but he's just not as got the physicality. Chaz Hines, Christopher Brooks, Julian Hill. He's got a lot to grow, man. You can't be that bad in blocking. He's got a lot to go. Quentin Bell, Anthony Schwartz, Keon Smith. Some people like Keon Smith. I don't. I still think he's another guy that doesn't have enough cement in the pants. Tana. I mean, so you got 3 quarterbacks on the roster. Lester Cotton is not a guy. Easy. I don't know what happened. Somebody explained it to me. It wasn't an injury, but he was just kind of like put on the side. I don't trust him. Tyndall. Do you expect anything from Tyndall? Cam Smith's a concern. Big pick. He's got to do something here too. If not, it's Noah and what's the other guy that we drafted in 2017 or whatever. Cedric Wilson's going to be gone. Liam Eichenberg, I have no faith in. Kevin Cross, a special teams guy, he might get cut. Duke Riley, backup. Phillips, Chubb, they're injured. They're not going to be playing. So you have 46 guys minus like 4 guys that are injured. You're probably going to get rid of X. You're probably going to get rid of Agba. And then you got like 19 guys that are not really starters. So you're talking you only got like 20-something guys on the roster at negative 50 million. And then, you know, so what's this roster going to look like? You got a lot of building, man. You got a lot of building. So I don't know. Can't we use a transitional tag on Wilkins? Cut some compensation? You can. But I don't know what the price is, though. But you still get we can't. Okay, so we're at negative 50. Any tags are locked into the season, and so at negative 50, say is transition tags like 10 or 15 million or something. Now you're at negative 60 million. This is the problem is we're locked in. We're so tight this season and next season that any kind of tag locks the money in now. If we got a big contract, they can push that forward and give ourselves some space, but we're not willing to pay what these guys think they're worth. But maybe, I don't know. I got to check the transitional tag. Alf, do you know anything about the transitional tag? I don't know what the price is, if it's equal to the franchise or not. I'm not sure. I forgot how that went. I remembered last year, but I forgot. There's content creators and local media guys questioning McDaniel's HC. People even mentioning Harbaugh's name. I hate to say it, I would love Harbaugh because Ross respects him. He wouldn't push him around, and he would come in and he would clear out Grier and the scouting staff. The scouting staff needs an overhaul. I just don't feel comfortable with the scouting staff because there's this long-standing history of repetitive issues. So I don't know. I think McDaniel, I think, could have been a guy just like Flores if they were, and just like Tua, and just like all these other guys, if they would develop properly in the right framework to have success. But they were putting, even Jackson, you overdraft them and then you make them start, then you move them to guard. It was just a lot to ask. We do this all the time, put guys in situations that are not setting them up for success. So I don't know what McDaniel could have been. How do you take a guy who's a run coordinator in the booth and to make him head coach and caller, and then you don't give him an offensive line that can actually run the football? So I don't know what McDaniel could be, but I know Harbaugh would come in and Ross would respect him. Ross would give him free reign and free berth, and he would come in and set things up. I would like that. I don't know how it would play out, but I think it would be much more hopeful. Hey, Chris, what's going on? You have it all mixed up on the Watson and Grier. Grier wanted 2 of Flores. No, that's what we're told. But if that was the case, Van Noy was cut going into the 2021 season despite Flores. So they weren't talking. They had animosity. Midway through the season, they were looking at Brady, who they've been looking at in the past, and they were looking at Peyton to come bring him in. They had him all set up. So if Flores was the guy looking for Watson, why would Ross and Grier do that if they're planning to get rid of him anyway? Grier is the guy who had all the power. If Flores had all the power, we said, Van Noy wouldn't have been cut. And Flores doesn't have the ability to cut people because that's the contracts. He has control of the 53 roster, I believe, but he could not let him play, but he can't cut him. That's a contract thing. So either Van Noy is lying, but it's still very odd that he was cut. And remember, when he was cut, everybody blamed Flores. He can't get along with people, but he can't do that. And Van Noy came out and said there was a civil war between the GM and the head coach, and he was cut because he was one guy's guy, and it was out of spite. That has to be Grier. So if Grier's doing that, and they're not talking, and they're already lining up Brady and Peyton, Flores was gone. There's no way he could win. They purposely sabotaged him so he would lose, so the optics would look good when they got rid of him. So I don't see how he would have had any juice, because that was like in the middle of the season. They already were like, working with Peyton, and they had the thing going on, Peyton and Brady. He had no juice. So, I mean, that's what we're told. But we were also told that Grier was a wallflower. And he was getting bullied by Flores. And now we find out that he cut Van Noy to spite him. Is that a wallflower? That's not a wallflower. That's not exactly what we're told. I don't know what the truth is, but I know that he's not like the poor guy who got bullied by dead bodies in the basement, Flores. That's not true. That's not reality. If Van Noy's lying, unless Van Noy's lying, So I don't know. But it doesn't make any sense. How do you have no juice and they're getting rid of you, and then you're demanding Watson, and it's all you that's pushing for Watson when you got no juice and they're ready to fire you? It doesn't make any sense. Let's see. Hell no, Ross wanted Watson and Brady. Flores wanted Love. It was all already over. Yeah, it has to be, because they weren't even talking going into the 21 season. So he was done. He had the whole things with Ross going on. He wouldn't tank. He wouldn't meet with Brady. He was sending the notes and messages, the saying, "Hey, look, I got this." They were done with him. He was gone. We had ACC. What's going on? We had 1 million draft picks, and our team is built on purchase talent. Like I said, I thought Grier set us up so well. I was really a big fan of his in 2019 and even 2020. I didn't really kind of get savvy till 21, and then started like some things didn't make sense, like how did Fitzpatrick get benched? Like 1 week he's like, if I was his father, I wouldn't put 2 in. You guys can't pressure me. And then a week later, it's like it's leaked before the players even find out. And Tua is like, I go upstairs. It was really weird. Grier and the coach were there, and then I was told I was starting. It was just so weird. And everybody, like even Baker's like, it's so weird because, Flores always let us know things before it happened. And I was like, all right, that's weird. And then Gailey was kind of weird in his meetings, like, we're here just to do what the team does and da-da-da-da. And then all of a sudden it came out that Gailey and Fitz were sabotaging Tua. And then Flores like, we expect all our coaches back. And it was like a fake shift thing on ESPN saying that he got canned. It was really weird. And then I was like, oh, this is really weird, And then 21 I was like, questioning things. So, oh yeah, Jacoby Brissett. Thanks, brother. I'm getting old. My brain is not as good as it used to be. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so. Do you know they interviewed him and he didn't choose McDaniel because I think he knew that they were setting him up to get cut. He was worried that, he was going to get replaced by McDaniel, but they interviewed him. Then they went through the 3 OCs, But yeah, I don't know if McDaniel's the good coach or whatever, head coach. I think he's a smart guy. I think he's got a lot to grow. Who knows what he can become? But I know you can't have it not having all. You can't have this offensive line and have success. It's not feasible. Flores was being forced to play too in most games by GM and Essence the owner. I believe that. I can't prove it, but it's just, again, it's like the flow of logic. Like he was like gushing over Fitzpatrick. He said, I brought Gailey in here. Like the future of my team and my offense is about Gailey. And then he's just not going to even consult Gailey about starting Tua. He's going to one day go, Tua's starting, and not even ask Gailey, because that's like totally cutting your own guy off. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's my future. And then you don't even consult him. Gailey wasn't even consulted about Tua starting. That made no sense. Who knows, but it doesn't follow any flow of logic. Flores is all about winning. He's going to stand up to the owner to win. He's not going to tank. But then all of a sudden he's going to go from Fitzpatrick, who's perfect for the system that they're in, and they're starting to win, to throw Tua in, who said, I wasn't ready physically and I didn't know the playbook. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. So I don't know all the deal, but I don't know. Flores is not here for one major in his relationship with Tua. It was toxic. I think it was with Ross and Grier. You know, Tua's father said he's like they call him up. They're like his second father. And Flores is like, if he was my son, and they're like, then all of a sudden it changed once Fitzpatrick. To me, you know that Ross tried to get the tank to get Burrow. He said no. Okay, so you got problems. He's putting bullet notes out to everyone saying, I was told to tank. I don't like this. I don't feel comfortable. And then he's asked him to go to Brady and have a meeting. And he's like, I'm not going. And then all of a sudden Tua appears to be the starter, and it's totally awkward. The Shane Gailey isn't consulted. The players aren't even told. It leaks to the media before even he could tell the players. I don't know. I'm sure it became strained at a certain point, but we always have all this compassion for everybody, but you got no compassion for Flores. You got a guy who hired him, and then he's cutting his player to spite him and stick him. And then he lets the whole media assassinate him, saying he's got dead bodies in the basement. And he never says, you know what? I was wrong too. I cut Van Noy out of spite. It just didn't work out. I'm sorry. We both made mistakes. He didn't say that. He said nothing. He was like, maybe one day I'll talk about it. That's sketchy, man. Grier is sketchy for that. He never said anything. He hired the guy. He was a young coach. He had to step in between the owner. There's no way that they're going to go look at Watson without Grier. He's the GM. Flores had no power. So to me, yeah, maybe there was eventual issues, but this guy was under huge duress. He's getting vilified by the media. I don't know, Alf. I'm not going to say I know it all, but I know clearly the number one issue is Flores and Ross, and then it became Grier and Flores. Ross had problems with Sperano. He felt nervous around Tuna. He went with Gase. He went with Philbin. He didn't want Campbell. He didn't want Bowles. He had problems with Flores. He went with McDaniel. I think Ross even said, I feel nervous around Tuna, Parcells. I think he gets nervous around the warrior type. I think he prefers the Grier, Gase, Philbin, McDaniel type guys, and he just gets nervous. And, he interferes. He's always been an interfering owner. He stabbed Sperano in the back, which was treacherous. Coaches they despise him. Look what he did to Hickey. Brought him in for 1 year, and then he got Grier. Totally, So I don't know. I don't know, Alf. I respect the world out of you and all that, but it just something doesn't fit. Because everything was Flores. There was no one else Ross lied to our faces, and there was never a media thing holy cow, Ross lied to us. There was nothing. It was crickets. And then we just heard Van Noy say, Grier cut me for he didn't say Grier's name, but he was the only guy who could have done it out of spite. And it was crickets. That's very, very curious. This is very curious to me. I just believe in fairness. I think Flores got hardcore. He's a guy from Brooklyn, grew up hard. He was getting, pushed from all angles, and he got harder and harder. And he went back to the hard football mentality, and he probably hurt people along the way. But that setup was, do you know how bad it was to come in? They were in midway through his first season. They're like, this guy should get fired. He's, they were, then it was the beginning of the season. They were saying, he was like an Uncle Tom because he was standing up for Ross over that whole thing. This guy was on the fire from day one. And I just think that, you gotta kind of spread it out a little bit. Tua becomes the angel. Ross becomes the angel. Grier's the angel. And then the bad guy, Flores, I don't know. If Fangio leaves Ronaldo Hill, you decide. I like Desai. That's a good one. I like that one, Desai. Yeah, no, he's not. The offensive line makes the world go round, and then on another level, it's the GM. The GM sets everything. He sets everything. I agree on that too. Cam Smith, yeah, he did. He looked really good in training camp. I don't know what happened. I think maybe he wasn't preparing physically and mentally the proper way. And I think you got to give him like a 1 year, like, okay, a mulligan. Year two, if he doesn't come up year two, it's a little concerning. Boner's the first white DB in the NFL I've seen in like 23 years. When was, what's the other guy? Easy E had pre-existing neck injury, like aggravated, and I haven't heard a word about it. Yeah. How was the other guy? What was that? I can't remember that guy's name. He got his knee blown out in a kickoff return. He should never kicked it. Had been in kick return. Let Wilkins go. He doesn't deserve to be in this. Yeah, I know. I agree. I think it's going to be. I hope I'm wrong. The transition tag is 17 million. Yeah, there's no way we can afford that. There's no way. You're at 49 million. That means you're at 57 million. That means you're going to have to extend Ramsey. You're going to have to, even if you cut Howard, it doesn't work because it's post-June. You get rid of Agba, you get rid of Baker maybe. That's 23 million, So if you add the 17 and 23, what is it? 27 and another 17, 44 million you're still under. And then you're losing two players in Agba and Baker, and you got to replace them. This is going to be very difficult to fill. They're going to have to young guys to watch on this roster for 24 are Hines and Boner. Hines, I don't know Hines. I got to check him out. I know you're good at evals, so I'll check that out. Boner looked pretty good. I like Peely a little bit too. I know you're not too high on him, but I think he can kind of come into the rotation. You just got to get stronger. That's the key is his strength. But Boner, Hines, I got to check Hines out. I'm going to check him out tonight or not tomorrow. Let's see. Transition tag is a 1 year 10 to offer, averaging a top 10 salaries at the position as opposed to top 5. Oh, okay. So it's still pretty high, I guess. Thanks, guys. So McD coached around and average. No. Let me show you this. Hold on a second. This is 10 years. True pass set performance. We are the worst by a country mile. I mean, you got 1, 2, 3 here, and then you start the worst of the worst. That's like a 7, let's see, 2, 3, like there's a 6% difference between us and then getting into the worst of the worst. We are the worst pass protectors in 9 years by a long shot. And then you add the inability to run inside. That's terrible. Let's see. Man, this guy doesn't age, still going strong. Who's that? This guy doesn't age. Who's that? All right. Sorry, guys. I'm missing some of your stuff. Yeah, McDaniel requested an interview before 21. That's what it was? Okay, thanks, Alf. I think Ross is Grier's yes man. Maybe. I don't know. I would prefer that Grier was all a problem and it wasn't Ross. I would prefer that because then you have hope. You need leadership. Your leadership's got to be sound. The owner should just, find a football guy and then not just write checks. You could talk. You say, hey, I think this, but that's it. And all the interference, all Ross's interference has been poor. It's been all intrusive and it's usually been wrong. And I think Ross means well. I think he's a real Dolphins fan. I think he's made himself a billionaire. He's very smart. He's, had success and he's desperate before he dies to give the fans and himself the success. But the more desperate you get, the more mistakes you make. I don't think Ross comes at it from a bad spirit. I just think he doesn't understand. Ross was a good coach, but the guy had no ability to manage relationships with certain players and coaches. Yeah, that's what they say. He even said that he should have made it more fun. But again, if you look at context, look at McDaniel. They're saying he's inept. He only passes outside. Why? He was set up where he couldn't run inside. Flores came in. He had a trash team. He brought in Gailey. Somebody decided to replace Fitzpatrick. Remember how happy he was up until the point where Fitzpatrick was replaced? Go back and watch the interviews. Go look at the team. That first season into midway through 2020, it was one thing. And then once Fitz was forced out by somebody other than Flores and Tua was inserted in, he became hardcore and he became harder and harder, and everything kind of fell apart. Go check Shane Gailey, how all his interviews and how his personality was, and then check post when Tua was inserted. Even see Tua was like, my dad goes, how they starting you after throwing the ball a couple times? He said, my mother was worried because he wasn't physically ready. He didn't even know the playbook. How did he get in? How would Flores not consult Gailey, who was he said was the future of his team and his offense? Just imagine being under that pressure. You know, like I like Omar Kelly a lot, but he leaked Jackson was playing left guard in the middle of the week and was suspended for like a week or two. I mean, he had everything against him. You don't think you're going to become a bastard and a little bit of a pissed off guy? I mean, you know, everyone's like, oh, poor Tua. You know, they get 1,000 excuses for poor Tua, 1,000 excuses. But Flores had the media hit job to create, say he was the worst thing ever. Nobody ever said, hey, this guy was risking his whole career to not tank. What kind of honor is that? He could have just tanked. Screw it. I don't care. I'm here for my money. I want to get the top pick. I'm going to listen to the owner. I might never get a job again. Nobody ever said it. The guy's mother died and he was coaching like a day later. You know, I mean, I think it's got to be fair. I'm sure he became a bastard after that when the GM stepped in or the owner stepped in and said, I'm getting rid of Flores. Fitzpatrick, we're putting Tua in. Don't even tell him. The media knows. I don't know. I have compassion for McDaniel. I have compassion for Tua and Flores because they're not in enviable positions. It's not enviable positions. Anyway, guys, some great comments here. Joe Judge. I like Joe Judge too. I don't know if he should have been a coach. I thought Campbell. We should have went with Campbell. I don't know if he was ready though. He went to the Saints and Peyton Peyton helped him out. Sorry, guys. So many good questions, man. So many good comments. Anyway, let's see. Flores did slightly better. Good job. Flores did slightly better job with hiring his co-OCs because they hired guys he hired, though some of them inexperienced. He had experienced as a play call OC, George Godsey. Yeah, and I think he really I think that Gailey was his lifeline. I think Gailey was a big piece of everything. And Gailey was like that balancing act, you know, kind of like Fangio and McDaniel. And I think once that situation, I don't know if Flores told everybody like what went on because it was just so confusing. You know, I know Fitzpatrick is angry. I don't know what the deal is. It was so bizarre, but it's Dolphins. It's always like this. Yeah, Jason Sehorn. Thanks, Steve. Something everybody forgot. Bruce Beal was one implicated. Yeah, but Ross knew. He just used him as the go boy. I mean, he's not going to go out and do it on his own. I mean, everybody knows the king sends out, you know, the man. You know, the mafia boss sends Brazzini to go do the work. But, you know, I mean, I think it would be crazy to think that he did it on his own. You know, that was his, like, mentor. Ross was his mentor. He was, like, under him, ready to take over. I mean, yeah, I get it. But, you know, I don't know. Let's see. Hook Up Joe, what's going on, brother? There's only one reason AJ and Ike played without being coached. Grier. Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think because if you notice that the staff, when Eichenberg came in, they identified him as a guard, and then all of a sudden he was playing tackle. I think there's just a lot of weird stuff going on. Like if you notice last year, Smith wanted Eichenberg and said he was doing good. And then last year's offensive line coach kind of wanted Jones. And then all of a sudden he was fired and Butch came in. I think there's a lot of background stuff going on. I don't know. I can't put my finger on it. But I just don't feel good. I think you go over these numbers, you go over this. We're going to have to hit so big. We got a first and second round pick. That's it. We can get some compensatory picks if Wilkins walks, but it's going to be very, very hard, guys. We'll see. We'll see. I appreciate all you guys. I hope I was semi-coherent tonight. I appreciate you guys, all comments, especially Alf. Alf's, he's a legit dude. Stopping here and put his mind and his information. I appreciate that. All you guys. But I say, any of you guys want to come on here, if you want to send me stuff to speak about, if you want to show up, you could audio recording, whatever you want to do. This live thing is a relationship with you guys and me. So whatever you want to bring in here, as long as it's not like you're a dumb monkey, Curtis, unless I am, send me stuff at Curtis at aceperhead.com. You can email me there. You can send me something. I'll bring it up. I'll study it, whatever you guys want, man, because I really appreciate all that you do. It's very kind. I never thought I could do this. I love doing it, and you guys make it go. Also, though, you could do me a favor. I'm doing a Twitter thing. I see Alf. Dude, Alf is the master Twitter guy. Don't have a screw with Alf on Twitter. He'll rip you apart. But I figure that Twitter is a critical piece to this thing. So it's Curtis at Phins News, PHINS News 1. That's my thing. Help me figure this Twitter thing out, because I feel like if I don't do it, I'm going to get squeezed out. Alf's like my mentor. He doesn't know it, but I'm watching him. I'm watching his whole shtick on the Twitter thing. So help me out with that. Guys, have a good weekend. Enjoy football. Dolphins, I don't know if we're going to do good, or maybe we will, maybe we won't. But football is the most beautiful sport in the world. There's nothing like it that's ever been created in the history of mankind. Enjoy the game. Guys, you're the best. I will catch you soon. More podcasts and live next week. And I'm doing the Bills covering a game Sunday. So be good, guys. I appreciate everything. Catch you next time. Be well.